Boris Johnson today promised Britons will not need to carry a vaccine passport to go to the pub when the country eventually escapes lockdown.
The Prime Minister shot down reports the controversial scheme is being looked at as a tactic to keep the economy open when restrictions are finally lifted.
But he conceded that some form of proof of vaccination will likely be needed to get international travel back up and running in the future. During a visit to a community vaccination centre in Orpington, southeast London, today, the PM said, "I think inevitably there will be great interest in ideas like can you show that you had a vaccination against COVID in the way that you sometimes have to show you have had a vaccination against yellow fever or other diseases in order to travel somewhere. I think that is going to be very much in the mix down the road. I think that is going to happen. What I don't think we will have in this country is as it were vaccination passports to allow you to go to, say, the pub or something like that."
Matt Hancock echoed the Prime Minister's comments, saying the UK was working with countries looking at banning unvaccinated travellers. The Health Secretary said the government wants Brits to be able to travel.
The vaccine passport scheme has been mired in confusion since it was first touted in late December.
8 firms have been awarded government grants to develop the technology, but no 10 has repeatedly said such documents will not be introduced in the UK.
There have also been a series of contradictory statements from ministers about how the scheme would be used, with Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab yesterday hinting it could be deployed in supermarkets and the hospitality sector.
Critics say a passport-style scheme would be discriminatory and make the voluntary jabs mandatory by proxy.
The Prime Minister also said that he expects there to be an increase in rapid testing as more of the population is vaccinated and the UK comes out of its lockdown.
Mr. Johnson said, "Looking at the future, what we hope to have is such a high proportion of the population vaccinated that when you couple that with rapid testing, lateral flow testing, you really start to get the kind of answers that you're talking about.
So I think it's in the context of having vaccinated a lot of the population, as we are already doing, and will do a lot more of in the next few months, that the rapid test approach will start, I think, to come into its own."
Echoing his comments, Mr. Hancock told Sky News, "There are some countries around the world that are considering bringing in rules saying you can only travel if you have been vaccinated. These aren't in place yet, but there are countries who are actively floating this idea and proposing it. In that case, it will be important for people from the UK to be able to show whether or not they have been vaccinated in order to travel, so we are working with countries around the world on the basis for this and how that vaccine certification can happen in a way that can be assured.
We want Brits to be able to travel to those countries, and therefore enable Brits to be able to demonstrate their vaccine status, so that sort of vaccine certification is something we are talking to our international counterparts about. And there are people who are arguing that is the right way to have safe global travel again, because obviously that's very restricted at the moment."
Wetherspoon today called on the government to open its pubs at the same time as non-essential shops as bars remain shut across Britain during the third lockdown.
Ministers are said to be considering plans to allow hospitality firms to serve customers outside by Easter, which falls on the weekend of April 2nd. But a full reopening is not expected until May at the earliest, and Wetherspoon boss Tim Martin warned that the industry is on its knees and must reopen to save jobs.
It comes as Mitchells and Amp, Butlers, which owns all bar one, Toby Carvery and Harvester said it will raise £350 million from its largest investors to shore up its finances.